Here are the 3 things that I did to transform the homeschool experience for me and my children. When I first started homeschooling felt like a chore. It felt like a list of things that we had to check off every day so that we could go live our life and do what we wanted to do. Our motivation was low, I struggled with consistency, and I always felt like I wasn't doing enough or I wasn't doing it good enough. All in all, our first couple of years of homeschooling wasn't really that great, but once I started implementing these 3 things, things changed. And honestly, I think the third thing is probably what made the biggest difference. First and foremost, I stopped trying to do everything and I started doing the most important things really well. When we first start homeschooling, we really do feel the pressure to do everything, to make sure our kids get everything they would possibly get in the public school system and even more. That really is a recipe for burnout, and you end up doing a lot of busy work because you just feel like you have to do more, more, more. So when I learned to stop focusing on more and actually took the time to examine my values, make a true vision for my homeschool, figure out what the most important things that I wanted from my homeschool and that I wanted to give to my kids were, I was able to really focus on those and do them very, very well. And wouldn't you know it, all of a sudden, I wasn't worried that I wasn't doing enough because I was doing what I knew was important. Second thing I did was start collaborating with my kids. I stopped viewing education as something we do to kids and started viewing it as something we do with kids. My role wasn't to be the all-knowing teacher who filled their empty heads with knowledge. My role was to be a guide, a helper, a coach, and learn with them. Once I let go of that pressure to be the perfect teacher, it became far more enjoyable for me and my kids. And that, my friends, solved our consistency problem. When we weren't dreading it, when we weren't feeling pressured, when we were enjoying it together, it became something we wanted to do together. And probably the most important thing I did that changed the entire dynamic for all of us was that I stopped giving my kids the education that I always wished I could have and started giving them an education that was focused on them, their interests, their goals in life. And of course, it's important for your children to have a well-rounded education. There are academic skills they need to have, and I always made sure that I provided those. But once I started doing it within the context of what they were interested, not what I wanted, things really started to change. When I was homeschooling my son, he was so smart, and I was just sure he was going to be a doctor or a lawyer, but he was interested in working with his hands. That disconnect made it really hard for us to work together on his education because I was always pushing things that he would need to get into law school or medical school, and he wanted to focus on working with his hands. He wanted to focus on applied mathematics. He wanted to focus on things that he was interested in. But unfortunately, I was still acting out a lot of my own educational trauma because I was not educated well. I was acting that out on my son without realizing it. And I laugh now, but that's actually really sad. So it was quite a process for me to resolve that educational disappointment that I had as a kid and resolve my own relationship with education so that I could truly provide to my kids an educational experience that was tailored to them and their interests that they enjoyed. It's deep work, but if you do that work, it will change the dynamic in your homeschool. And of course, it's not always easy to see your blind spots. That's why they're blind spots. Sometimes it's helpful to have somebody from the outside who can listen to you and give you perspective changes and encourage you. So if that's something you're interested, head to the link in my bio where you can set up a meeting with me. So if you found this helpful, don't forget to like and follow. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments. I try to respond to as many as I possibly can.